right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to those of you online. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. We are very excited to talk about Copilot plugins and AI extensibility in Teams. So let's jump right in with some introductions. My name is Joey Glocke. I'm a PM manager on the Teams platform. And my team builds the conversational extensible components of Teams, like bots and message extensions, and now Copilot plugins. I'll be joined today by a handful of my very talented colleagues, and we'll meet them as we move along. But to frame this discussion, I wanted to just talk about what we set out to achieve as a team as we approached AI. Our goal as a platform is to leverage AI and our platform tools to turn Teams conversations into outcomes faster than any other collaboration method in the world. And we thought the only way to achieve this is a brand new framework built with AI interfaces from day zero that extends the Teams app model as it is, allowing your experiences to power the flow of your users' natural conversations. So today we're going to talk about two new complementary pieces of this AI-driven framework. We'll start with plugins for Microsoft 365 Copilot, something you've probably heard a lot about the last day or so. These will allow you to extend our Copilot surfaces with your app skills. Then we're going to introduce you to the new Teams AI library, which is available now. This is a team-centric interface that makes it simple to connect large language models to every extensible piece of Teams, not just plugins. And to get us started, let's talk about plugins. And for that, please welcome my colleague, Gino.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. So my name is Gino Buzzelli. I am a senior product manager on Microsoft Teams, and today we are going to talk about how to build a plugin for Copilot. So to kick things off, we're going to follow Miriam. She's a product manager at Contoso, and she's going to use the Priority Matrix plugin to help her keep track of a customer outreach program. So for this, the first thing Miriam's going to do is she's going to ask Copilot to catch her up on the FY23 customer outreach program. Once she presses enter, Copilot's going to begin searching and reasoning over multiple data sources. This includes her emails and her documents. And it's going to identify all the relevant information and then compile that into a summary it's going to send back to Miriam. Now, along with this summary, Copilot will always provide a list of references. And this will allow Miriam to dig into wherever this information was sourced from. So let's take a look at this summary. In the first two bullets, it talks about what's going on in this project, some new components that were added, but I want to bring your attention to that third bullet. It says there's an urgent action item to close the proposal with stakeholders before the next monthly marketing review. So that's only 2 weeks away, June 6th, so Miriam wants to make sure she tracks this work in Priority Matrix. So for this, she's just going to ask Copilot to create a new task to track the above proposal to closure due by the marketing review date. Once she presses enter, Copilot's going to go look through her plugins. It's going to identify Priority Matrix as the right plugin for this task. It's going to invoke it. You see this create dialog. And now all of these fields have been pre-populated. Copilot inferred all this information from the conversation with Miriam. So she's going to add a few more details and hit create. Now Copilot's going to go back to that plugin and use it to create this work item and provide a link to Miriam. Now let's say a week goes by. Miriam wants to update that same item with some progress she's made. For this, she's going to go back to Copilot, and she's going to ask it to find that related item. Copilot's going to, again, use the Priority Matrix plugin to query all of her work in Priority Matrix. And once it finds the right item, it's going to send her a summary of that item along with a link. Now, because Priority Matrix used an adaptive card, you can see that here. There's a few more actions at the bottom that Miriam can use. She's going to click View Item. She wants to make some updates here. This is going to open the existing Priority Matrix app within Teams, pop it out into a separate window. And from here, she can make her updates, add any new details she wants to, and when she's done, she hits Save. Great. So everything we just covered is possible today. We're not actually enabling brand new scenarios. However, with Copilot and the Priority Matrix plugin, this was all possible much more efficiently from a single experience, the Copilot experience. So let's talk now about how this all worked. It might seem like there was some magic there. How did Copilot know to use Priority Matrix plugin? How did it pull that information into the form? Let's talk about that. So every time a user sends a request to Copilot, the first thing that happens is Copilot's going to go and grab a list of all the plugins available to that user. It's then going to use the LLM to determine what the user's intentions were from their initial message. Once it understands their intentions, it's going to start combing through the list of plugins available to that user. And this is where it's going to go look in the plugins app manifest, which you heard a little bit about earlier today. And in this app manifest, there's going to be descriptions of what this app does, what capabilities does it support. And the LLM is going to go through all of this until it figures out what is the most relevant plugin for this task. Once it identifies that, it's now going to generate a plan. And this means it's going to figure out, OK, how do I use that plugin now? And for this, it has to go back to the manifest. It's going to look at what are the parameters needed for this plugin. And it'll look at the descriptions of those parameters to do so. And once it has a plan put together, it's going to call the plugin, execute it, get whatever data it needs, and then use that to form a summary to send back to the user. So in the scenario we walked through, Miriam started off by just asking some questions. All this happened behind the scenes, and all she's going to see at the end is, yeah, you have 2 items assigned to you. Here's a link to both of them. It's very powerful stuff. It's going to definitely change the way we all work, so we're pretty excited about it. So now let's talk about how do you create a plugin. Well, there's going to be several ways to create a plugin. We're going to talk about 2 different ways today. We're going to start with how to create a plugin from your existing Teams message extension, and then we're going to talk about creating a plugin from an API. Let's start with creating a plugin from a Teams message extension. So I assume most people here are familiar with Teams message extensions, but in case you're not, these are apps that extend the conversational experience in Teams. So if you've ever used an interactive poll in a conversation, or maybe you've shared a link and it unfurled into like a rich adaptive card, that's a message extension. There are tens of thousands of message extensions in Teams app catalog today, and they're used by millions of users. And the good news is, if you already built a message extension, you already have a plugin. Copilot will know how to integrate your message extension on day 1, so you're good to go. I was expecting a little different response there. I'll try it again. Yeah. It's just going to work. We're just going to make sure that works for you. And to see this in action, let's take a look at the Zoho plugin. So if you're not familiar, Zoho is a CRM tool, and it's used by customers around the world. They already have a message extension in the Teams app catalog. And as you can see here, Copilot was able to work with it and integrate with it as is. It just works. So now Zoho's users, once Copilot's available, will be able to create and manage their work items all from the same conversational experience. So let's say you were one of the folks here who maybe didn't clap at that last slide. Maybe you don't have a message extension. Maybe you don't want to create a message extension. That's fine. You can easily create a message extension starting from an API. There's 3 things you need to do for this. You need to build your API. You're going to want to document that API using the Open API specification. And then you need to create your app manifest. This document is going to instruct Copilot how to interact with your plugin. And we'll get a little more into what that means later. So let's demonstrate this. We're going to switch over to a repairs service that I already built. And from that, we're going to create a plugin. So here's my repairs project. This is already built. I've already went ahead and documented this using the Open API specification. This is that open standard you've heard a lot about today. And let's just walk through it. So you can see the title of my repair service, a description. Here's URLs to my development server, my production server. Below here are all the paths. These are the capabilities that my API supports. Let's take a look at this first one, list repairs. So this list repairs skill, what it does is it returns a list of repairs with their details and images. To call it, there's one parameter assigned to. So you would provide someone's name, and it will return a list of repairs assigned to that person. Below there, we have an explanation of how the responses are formatted when you call this API. And I do this for all the other skills supported, like create repair, and I have delete and update repair. Once you have your API built and it's documented in the Open API spec, that's the hard part. Next, you just have to create your plugin, create your app that you'll eventually publish to the Teams store. For this, I'm going to use the Teams Toolkit extension for VS Code. If you haven't used this, this is the easiest way to do this. And for this, I'm just going to invoke this extension. It's right over here. I already have it installed. Click on Create a New App. You're going to see a new option up here, Plugin for Copilot. Now I'm going to browse and select that OpenAPI spec. This is going to provide a lot of the foundational information that will be used into my manifest. Now I'm going to select which skills from my OpenAPI spec do I want to support in my plugin. I'm going to do list repairs and create repair. Click OK. Now I'm going to select the folder I want to store this in. Let's give it a name. We're going to call it repairs. And then you press enter. And just like that, the Teams Toolkit is going to go ahead and create my app. This is, as is, you can go start testing this and publish it. This is a plugin. It was very easy, but we'll take a look at what's in here. So let's start with the manifest. I mentioned earlier this document is what Copilot uses to understand how your plugin works. So it's very important you make sure this is how you want it. Let's walk through the different fields here. So you see here the name of my service. Most of this is coming from the OpenAPI spec, by the way, so you'll see a lot of that. The description of my service. Then down here where I had paths before, these are now the commands for my plugin. So there's the list repairs command. It's a query. It's a description of what it does, the parameters it uses. And because the OpenAPI spec describes the format of the response, we're even able to automatically generate those adaptive cards for you. We showed this in the earlier example as well. So this is what this would look like. So anytime a user asks to see a repair, this is how it will be returned to them. And then here you can make changes if you need to. You can say you want the image bigger. Make it however you'd like. And then once you're ready, test out your plugin, and you're ready to publish it. That's it. So now let's take a look at how this actually works once we put it in Copilot. So you can see here. You can clap. Go for it. Yeah. It's really exciting stuff. So you can see here the plugin in action. Find me a repair assigned to Isaac. It's now going to use that list repairs command that we just walked through. It's going to go to the manifest, see that the parameter was it needed one assigned to field. It's going to use Isaac's name, search the system for all repairs assigned to Isaac. Copilot will then return that, along with the adaptive card we just looked at. So now we covered two different ways to create a plugin. Let's talk about some best practices when you do this. First and foremost, good descriptions. Your manifest lets Copilot know when and how and everything about your plugin. So it's really important that you describe it well. And for this, we mean like clear, concise descriptions. I'm sure folks here have used LLMs and worked with LLMs in the past, so you would know that prompt engineering is more of an art than it is a science. So test out different descriptions. Make sure your plugin works as you expect. This will make sure your users get the most out of it. Next, you're going to want to use an API manager. We recommend it. And I use the Azure API manager. This will let you govern your plugin, so you can set some rate limits to make sure there's no unintended usage spikes of your plugin. And you can also monitor it in real time. So now we all see how easy it is to make these plugins. It's going to be simple, and they're very powerful. It's going to change the way we all work. Although Copilot is not available today, you can still get ahead by building your message extension. If you have a message extension in our store, once Copilot is available, it's just going to work. So go ahead and build one. And then also, we're going to have a wait list. There's a link there. I think we just set this up like yesterday, so join that, and you'll be one of the first ones on that. And this will give you access to plugins as soon as they become available. And yeah, now we know how to make a plugin. So I'm going to hand this back over to Joey. He's going to talk to us about our API library. Here we go, Joe.
Lots of applause.
Thanks.
All right. So thank you, Gino. We just discussed how powerful and simple it is to build Copilot plugins. And now I want to back up a moment and examine our entire conversational app model. So plugins is one piece of that, but we also support bots, message extensions, adaptive cards. And we wanted to make sure that we're offering you a robust but simple set of developer tools to build end-to-end experiences that interface with large language models from day zero. So I'm thrilled to present the all-new Teams AI library. And, oh, more claps. This is great. It's good to be back in person. Before we dig a little deeper, let's talk about how we got here. In Teams, we've had bot support right from the start. But building bots that feel natural to interact with has been a bit of a challenge. Most bots rely on a limited set of declared commands, which can feel primitive and restrictive to use. Your users have to understand these to interact with your app's skills. And unfortunately, until now, developers have difficulties mapping user intention in their natural language to app skills. NLP has historically been complex and expensive to build. So this is an example of how a user might interact with a bot before the Teams AI library. You see here that they kind of have to understand the bot's language. They choose a command and they might proceed from there. But this isn't their own natural conversation and not their own natural language. And that's what the Teams AI library is built to solve. It's here to address challenges and change the way you build bots and apps. With the AI library, your apps can leverage LLMs to facilitate more natural conversations and leverage the LLMs to guide conversational text into your app's skills. This means that you could focus on writing business logic and let teams handle the complexities of conversational bots, so you as developers can easily extract and utilize user intention within your apps. And overall, it means the AI library empowers you to create more intelligent and personalized experiences for your users. So if we look at the same example, with the new library, you could see a user talking naturally to a bot inside a group chat with their peers. So this isn't some rigid set of commands anymore. The bot's actually part of the conversation. And you see here how it can extract user intention. So in this case, it's an update on the latest items for Project Ruby, and it returns the right result. The user can continue the conversation from there, asking follow-ups to the bot, like finding the right subject matter expert on one of the items from the last result, and then perform an action, like assigning that work item to the right contact. And now they've completed their workflow inside the flow of their own natural conversations. So since this is build, we're going to look at some code. And to tell you more detail on how simple this is to integrate, I'm very excited to welcome our SDK architect, Steve, who's going to dive deep into the new library. Here you go, man.
Thank you, Joey. I'm Steve Ickman, and I'm an architect on the Teams platform. Let's explore how the Teams AI library empowers your bot to process user commands and deliver intelligent responses. The AI library is a team-centric interface to large language models. Using techniques like prompt engineering, you can add ChatGPT-like conversational experiences to your bot, and built-in safety features like moderation help your bot always respond in an appropriate manner. The library includes a planning engine that lets the model identify the user's intent and then maps that intent to actions that you implement. So let's go over the 4 main steps needed to start using the Teams AI library. You'll start by creating the necessary AI components for your bot. This will include importing the Teams AI library into your project and configuring a few component settings. Next, you'll create an application object that represents your bot within the Teams environment. The object will be used to handle incoming messages, process user input, and handle AI-triggered actions. Then you'll create a prompt for your bot. Prompts define the AI's personality, its behavior, and tell it the actions your bot can perform. And then finally, you'll implement actions that handle the actions triggered by those AI components. So let's dive a little deeper. To start using the Teams AI library in your bot, you need to first create the AI components you want it to use. There's 3 main types of components. First, you'll need to create a planner. The planner is how you interface with your model of choice, and we'll talk more about the role of planner shortly. Second, you'll need to create a prompt manager. The prompt manager manages the creation of your prompts, and the default prompt manager supports powerful features like templating and prompt chaining. Third, you'll create a moderator. This is an optional component, but highly recommended. The moderator is what adds that layer of safety to your bot and ensures that it always responds in an appropriate manner. Next, you'll need to create an application object. You'll configure it with the storage provider and the AI components you just created. The application object has built-in state management, which it uses to automatically track the history of the conversation it's having with users. You'll be able to store your own state as well. And if you're familiar with the Bot Framework state management system, all the standard conversation, user, and temporary memory scopes are supported. Once you've created your application object, you'll define your server's message route and pass all incoming requests into the application object for processing. Now let's get to the fun part, creating prompts. Here's our recommended approach. To start with, we recommend using OpenAI's Playground for all of your prompt engineering tasks. Playground provides a great interface for crafting prompts and trying out different approaches. I always start with Playground. The default prompt manager organizes prompts into folders. So once you have your prompt the way you like it, create a folder for your prompt, then copy the text of your prompt from a Playground to a file called skprompts.txt. Our prompt manager supports template variables and even calling functions. So if you wanted to add something like today's date to your prompt, you would add those template parameters as well. Finally, you'll need to create a file called config.json. This is going to contain all the settings you used in Playground, like temperature and max tokens. You can also use this file to select the model you want to use, which means you're free to use a mix of models in your bot. The final step is to implement your bot's actions. Actions are callback functions that the AI components you created can trigger, and as we'll see in a model, the model can even trigger. In this example, we're implementing the actions we want the bot to take should the user try to get the model to say something bad, or even worse, should the model try to say something bad. For a lot of simple conversational experiences, that's it. You're done. Some AI components, the application object, your prompt, and a couple of actions. But what about not so simple conversational experiences? Let's talk about a feature we call planning. Planning lets the model return a plan object that tells the model to do actions, say things, or a combination of the two. Getting the model to return a plan is pretty easy. Just show it the schema the AI library expects for the plan, then give it a list of actions your bot supports, and then give it a very specific instruction telling it to always respond with the plan. Our built-in planners have special logic that helps ensure the model always complies with that instruction. This is the prompt from one of our sample bots called Lightbot. Lightbot is a simple bot that can turn a light on or off. It was actually the very first sample bot I created using an LLM, and it's what gave me my first aha moment for what these LLMs are capable of achieving. So why don't I show you what I saw the first time that I ran Lightbot. You can ask Lightbot to turn the lights on. It'll return a plan that turns the lights on, and then it responds saying the lights are now on. You can ask it to turn the lights off. It'll return a plan to turn it off and then confirm that the lights are off. You can even give Lightbot a chain of commands for it to run. Notice I'm not even mentioning the word lights anywhere in here. And it will return a multi-step plan that does exactly what we told it to do. Yeah. So how do you implement actions like this? Well, you'll implement your actions you described in your prompt just like you would any other action. There's no difference from a development point of view. Since a model can potentially execute a chain of actions, though, there may be times when you want to prevent any additional actions from being run. You can do that by simply returning false from an action. And also keep in mind these are still large language models. They can sometimes predict actions they think you should have implemented that you haven't gotten around to implementing yet. So I'd recommend adding an unknown action handler. And if you're using a trial account, you'll also want to add a rate-limited action handler. So next, I'm going to invite Ayca up to walk you through building a bot from scratch using the Teams AI library.
Thanks, Steve. Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Ayca Bas. I'm a cloud developer advocate at Microsoft, and we learned a lot from Joey and Steve about AI library, Teams AI library, and today I just want to walk you through how we can build a basic bot using Teams Toolkit and then have the first experience. And after that, we will integrate Teams AI library into it and then see the difference between a basic comment bot and the Teams AI library integrated bot. Okay, so let's get started. So let's take a look at my demo. I built this demo using Teams Toolkit. We will create a new app, and it will be a basic bot. We will choose TypeScript, and the moment I give it a name using Teams Toolkit, I'm creating a chef bot. Teams Toolkit will scaffold my project. Before we add any code, let's run the project and see what is the experience. To run the project, we need to log in with Microsoft 365 account and side loading enabled. And I'll just go ahead and debug the project. So I also want to show you the code, what we have in the default template. In the TeamsBot TS, we only have two comments at the moment. It's just welcome and learn. Both of them are returning basic adaptive cards, and the experience is pretty straightforward. When you ask welcome, it returns you an adaptive card. When you ask learn, then it also returns you another adaptive card. And when my project is ready, Teams Toolkit is initiating my bot. And when we are ready to go, we will just add the bot on Teams and test it out. OK, so we're almost there. I will, let's quickly click on add. And then afterwards, we will just start testing the bot. So, all right. Bot is already sending me welcome, and I will send the bot learn, and just to see the second adaptive card as well. And that's what it can do at the moment, pretty much, nothing more. Let's start adding some AI components into it. We will start by adding our OpenAI key, and afterwards we need to install the package at Microsoft/Teams-AI. This is the package, and while it's installing, we will go ahead and add some Teams AI library components into our index.ts. OK, so first of all, we need to import the components we will use, and then we will start adding everything about Teams AI library in our bot. So this part will be mainly about Teams AI library, and everything Steve showed us in the slides, we will start creating everything. So the first thing I'll create is the state, and we will use conversation state for that, and we will leverage from GitHub Copilot a lot when writing this code, and feel free to try out yourself as well. I highly recommend it, and we will use default turn state. And after this point, we will define the AI library components. And the first component we will create is the planner. And planner uses OpenAI key, and we will also have to add that in the config. And then as a model, we will leverage from tags-davinci-003, and finally, we will define log request as true. And since our OpenAI key is in the environment variables, we also have to add that in the config so that we can call that out from the config file. Let's get back to index.ts, and the next component we will create is the moderator. So as Steve mentioned, moderator is helping us moderate the conversation with bots. We can moderate both input and output. In our case, we will moderate both of them. And after that, we will create prompt manager. Prompt manager is responsible of creating the prompts. And for that, we will need to create a new file called prompts, and we will add all of the details there. Let's create a folder called prompts, and then I will add another folder inside it called chat. This is going to be our prompt. And we will need two important files here. The first one is config.json. And config.json will have all the important settings about our prompt. And the second important file is the prompt text. Prompt text mainly has all the text information about my bot. So my bot is a chef bot who is an expert on Teams app development and using terms with cooking in parallel. OK, so finally, we will define storage. And you can use any kind of storage, but for this demo, we are using memory storage. And now, finally, we can create our AI app. And while we are creating the AI app, we will leverage from everything we created earlier. And in the AI, we will use planner, moderator, prompt manager, and prompt will be using the chat folder we just created. And finally, we will define history, and we will use text format for that. OK, so let's go ahead and create some actions as well. As Steve mentioned, we can create a variety of actions. And we will create 2 actions in this demo to flag out the conversation with bot. The first one we'll use is AI.flag input action name, which will be flagged when a user says something bad. So in this case, we can actually return something like, I'm sorry, your message is flagged, meaning the user's message is flagged. And we can also use the same term to flag bots messages, and we can call the AI.flag output action name. And for this case, this will be flagged when bot says something wrong. So we will say my response was flagged. In the final stage, before we jump back into the testing, we will create history. This is for keeping conversation history with the user. And we are going to define history using the conversation history as well. So we will just go ahead and use history, and we are going to leverage from conversation history here. Finally, we can replace bot with the app that we created, and then we can go back to our bot. So I can start by saying hi, and bot will reply back to me with a welcome message. Yes, so it's introducing itself and asking my name. I can say I'm Ayca, and bot is asking, have I ever cooked before? Of course, I've cooked before. And now we started receiving some descriptions, like building an app for teams. It's very similar with cooking, with the ingredients. We can continue asking questions like, where do I start? And then it will continue giving me the context related to our prompt. It can give us examples related to Teams app dev with the cooking in parallel. So we can continue asking what types of apps I can create, and we can get more responses. And everything my bot gives me as the example related to cooking. So it will be easy as a beginner to understand the concept. And we can build such bot like ChefBot with the power of course, Teams Toolkit, because it's so easy to create a Teams app. Plus, we can integrate the Teams AI library very easily. So if you're interested in this demo, this is actually available in our tutorial, in our documentation as a tutorial. You can check that out. And this is all I wanted to show in my demo. Thanks so much, and I'm handing back to Jerry.
All right, thank you, Steve and Ayca, for breaking down the Teams AI library. A lot of great technical detail there. Saw how powerful but simple the library is to adopt. And importantly, how it makes your experiences more intuitive for your users. Ayca's demo showed the rigid command structure and then showed her just starting to talk to the bot. That's much more like their natural flow of conversation in Teams. So now let's take a look at how a few of our partners are already using this library today. And for that, welcome my colleague, Sukhmani.
Thank you, Joey. Before we dive in, a quick introduction about myself. I'm Sukhmani Lamba, a senior product manager on Teams platform, and I'm going to be walking you through a few examples of all the exciting stuff our partners are building with the AI library today. Here's some of the, sorry, a glitch there. We're still getting used to being in person again and doing these in person. So here are some of our partners we're working closely with today to integrate the AI library into their Teams apps as we speak. Just want to take a moment to thank all of our partners. Thank you. We'll walk through a few of these examples. We'll pick 3 of the apps that are already in Teams that are doing this work right now as we speak. And with that, our first one is going to be Decisions. If you're not already familiar with Decisions, this is an app inside Teams today, and it helps users to create and run effective meetings. Now let's have a look at what they're building. So here, as you can see, the user wants to add to a meeting agenda, and he's asking the Decisions bot to give it some suggestions for the meeting details. The app will extract the user's intent from this message. It'll search through past conversation history and propose an agenda item, finally, as we can see here, complete with a proposed duration, title, description, also links to relevant attachments. All the user has to do now is just click Send to Organizer, and it gets shared with the meeting's organizer. Here's a slightly different scenario now. This is for localization. With localization, the user doesn't have to be restricted with just one language. As we can see here, the user can type in German and will get that same response back in German, all the same meeting details, with no extra effort. And all of that was written with just a few lines of code with the AI library. So thank you. Our next example is going to be Ayca. Ayca is, again, another app that we have in the Teams store today. And it's typically used to automate help desk solutions deployed as a line of business app for our customers. Let's have a look at what they're building. So here the user has a couple IT issues and is reaching out to the bot one-on-one. The bot can read messages again in natural language, extract the user's intent, and map them back to its own commands. In this case, it's going to be searching through help desk documentation and provide some troubleshooting steps. Shortly, we're going to see an example of a slightly more complex request. And what the bot can do now, it can chain out this request into individual tasks. And it'll prompt the users, we can see here, to complete each of those tasks one by one while maintaining conversation history. Now the user has a laptop issue that they're looking to resolve. The bot identifies first a few options to troubleshoot and address the issue. And you'll see here shortly that the bot can also take an action on the user's behalf in addition to suggesting actions. For example, it's terminating an application. And all bot responses are packaged inside adaptive cards so that the user can quickly take action, share feedback in the flow of conversation. Here's a slightly different example. In this case, the bot is actually reaching out to the user one-on-one to start onboarding a new team member. The user can do things like picking an onboarding buddy, also can choose IT equipment for the user, and also fill out forms, all from that same Teams window with the AI library. So now for our final demo. Lucid is, again, an app inside Teams today. It enables users to work together in real time to brainstorm ideas, share information, collaborate around new processes. Let's have a look at what they're building. Here the user is starting out creating a new board from Teams and sharing it with their team members to collaborate together. That same collaboration can also happen inside of a Teams channel, as we see here. And here the board is pinned to a certain Teams channel. After the meeting is completed, one of the users, as we can see here, has dropped a link to that same board. And because some team members could not make the meeting, the user asks the bot to quickly summarize that document. And now the bot can actually parse through the entire Lucid board. It can, through sticky notes, through annotated text, all of that, and put together a quick summary. Another example of localization here again, the bot can take responses in several different languages without almost no input from the user. And it can also take commands in natural language, map it back to its own skills again, as we saw there, creating a new board. So a quick recap, we saw lots of examples of all the same components that Steve and Ayca talked about with the AI library. And we saw them working as working examples with our 3 partners. I'm excited to see how you all use these and what you create with your applications. Thank you so much. Over to you, Joey.
All right. So thank you, Sukhmani, Ayca, Steve, Gino. I just wanted to kind of quickly, this is a whirlwind of information, so I wanted to recap and give you some actionable next steps. So we started this whole conversation seeing how simple it is to build plugins for M365 Copilot. You can either use your existing API set, or you can use your existing Teams message extensions. These plugins are coming soon. Then we took a look at the all-new Teams AI library and showed how quickly you can connect Teams app components to large language models to build powerful conversational experiences. And again, this library is available to use right now. So I encourage you to go check it out. You can start with the Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio Code and use sample app templates like the one Ayca just showed. You can use those to begin experimenting with your own ideas. And whether you want to build a plugin for Copilot or a rich Teams AI experience, we have you covered. And I'm very excited to announce that if you're interested in poking around with your new ideas on these libraries, there's a new hackathon for Teams. Go ahead. And this starts June 1st. This runs through June 15th. You can build out your ideas for a chance to win prizes. And everyone you just heard from today, as well as a few others on the team, are going to be involved to help you get started, to hear your feedback. And there's going to be office hours and more in-depth discussions like this one on the library. So please check that out, scan that code, take a look at that link. For the rest of the day, if you have an open agenda and want some hands-on time with this AI library right now, you can check out 2 in-depth labs where Steve and a few others that I see in the second row on the team are going to lead you through an interactive session on the JavaScript SDK. So if you're a JavaScript developer, please come join us. We also have on this, take a picture of this slide, we have a plethora of material here to get you started on building message extensions, the documentation, tutorials, and libraries for the new AI library. And then, of course, to get you signed up for June's hackathon. All of those links are there. I'll give everybody an extra minute to take a picture. And that's everything that I have for our conversation today. So thank you so much for your time, and enjoy the rest of Build.